How different are the UK and Ukraine? Hi there, I'm Ukrainian, but I live in the UK. I moved here a couple of years ago and decided to build my life in this country. After my latest video, how much I spent monthly in the UK, I received lots of questions about Ukraine and life there. So in this video, we are going to discuss the differences between the UK and Ukraine, especially the culture aspect, what the people are like there, the healthcare system, and why all the Ukrainians are complaining about the healthcare in other countries, the beauty industry and where it is better, the public transport and the cost of it, and of course the housing market. So if you're interested in this, please stick around till the end of this video. I want to stress that everything that I'm going to tell you here about Ukraine is how everything was before the war, because I haven't been there since the war started and life there has changed. But I communicate regularly with my friends and I know the latest situation pretty well. A quick disclaimer, every country has its pros and cons, some things are better in Ukraine, some in the UK, and I'm not judging any country, but there were reasons why I left Ukraine. And believe me, being an immigrant isn't easy. I started dreaming of living in the UK a long time ago and was looking for opportunities to move here. I was building my life and work experience in a way so I could easily find a job here and support myself. And I can tell you for sure that the overall quality of life here is much higher than in Ukraine. But enough of this. Maybe in some other video I'll tell you my story and how everything started. But for now, let's go back to discussing the differences between the UK and Ukraine. I want to start from the culture aspect because I think that everything starts from here, from people. The first thing that I would like to admit is that in Ukraine people tend to be more straightforward and less inclined to sugarcoat their opinions. People aren't afraid to speak their mind openly, even if it means being blunt. If you make a mistake or behave in a way that others disapprove of, they are more likely to address it directly. This directness may come across as harsh to some, but it is simply a reflection of Ukrainian culture. Rather than pretending everything is fine when it's not, Ukrainians believe in addressing issues openly and fostering genuine communication and relationships. But I can't say this is cool. You feel more community pressure and are afraid of judgment. While here in the UK you feel more relaxed. Nobody cares what you wear or what you do. The UK is known for its politeness and aversion to confrontation. But there is a minus in this approach. If you do something wrong at work and your colleagues don't like you, nobody will tell you this. You will just simply be fired after some period of time. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't it be better if we tell the person what they did wrong and give them a chance to improve themselves? Otherwise, you don't even know what you have done wrong. In Ukraine, people are known for their direct communication style, both in personal and professional settings. If someone needs something, they won't beat around the bush or engage in lengthy conversation. Instead, they will express their needs and desires directly and clearly. This straightforward approach extends to the workplace as well. Managers in Ukrainian workplaces typically communicate expectations directly to their employees, clearly outlining tasks and responsibilities without much ambiguity. This directness fosters efficiency and clarity in communication, enabling individuals to understand expectations and deliver results effectively. That's why when I started my work here, I told my manager that I am from a different culture and if there are any issues or I accidentally offended somebody, I want him to tell me this because I may not have intended this. But he said that I don't have to worry about this because he's Scottish and apparently Scottish people are direct too. In contrast, British people often engage in small talk and indirect communication before addressing the main subject. It is considered polite to engage in a bit of conversation about unrelated topics before getting to the main point, as jumping straight into business might be perceived as rude or abrupt. Similarly, in workplaces, British managers tend to use more indirect language when assigning tasks or giving feedback. Instead of directly stating what needs to be done, they might phrase requests more suggestively or politely, such as saying, "When you have some time, would you be able to check this or do this?" This indirect approach allows for more subtle communication and maintains a sense of politeness and diplomacy in professional interactions. But for Ukrainian people, it seems more like a recommendation, not an order. Despite this directness, people are more open in Ukraine. It's much easier to make friends there. I mean, real friends. Also, most Ukrainians tend to live in a block of flats where there could live 100 families or more, and usually people know at least a quarter of them or even more. While here in the UK, I can see that people are more private. They don't even know their neighbors and communicate with a close circle of people. It's much harder to make friends here, especially for a foreigner. But on the other hand, people are much smiley here. You can walk on the street and an absolute stranger smiles at you. And maybe this is just a part of being polite, but it just still feels good. Opposite to this, people in Ukraine don't smile often. If you walk on the street and smile at somebody, sometimes you can even hear the question, why are you smiling? Found anything funny? Not always, not with everyone, but sometimes it happens. Okay, I couldn't miss this point. Celebration parties, such as birthday parties or weddings, people celebrate them completely differently in these two countries. I can't say which way is better or which way is correct, it's just different. And if you were raised in one culture, the other way will be strange and unexpected to you. When you go to a birthday party or a wedding in Ukraine, prepare to buy a gift. It's not cheap, but at the party there will be lots of different food, a few courses, and lots of different alcohol. The owner of the party spends a lot of money on the celebration, and after that they receive gifts from the guests. If you go to a party in the UK, be prepared to pay yourself for the food and alcohol. Maybe, again, maybe this is not always the case, but that's what I have experienced in different parts of the country. At some birthday parties, we didn't even eat, we just drank all evening. But as I see here, people don't usually bring any gifts, or it could be just a bottle of wine and flowers. So the money you spent on a gift in Ukraine, you spent on food and alcohol here. Please tell me in the comments which way you think is the best. Once I had a funny situation at work. At least it was funny for me. Our company organized some kind of celebration for our team. My manager said that we will celebrate achieving some milestone and that the company rented a room in a golf club for our celebration. Sounds cool? In the beginning, there was a presentation about achievements of our team, and it was announced that then we will have lunch. In Ukrainian culture, lunch is something when you sit and eat some hot food like a full course. How I was surprised when I saw sandwiches cut in half and we could buy alcohol at the bar. I was genuinely shocked. When I saw this, I asked my manager, "Where's the lunch?" And he said, "This was the lunch." And I told him, "No, those are just sandwiches." But it is not always like that. When our manager organized a celebration for our team, we had some food and as much alcohol as we wanted for free. So don't think that British people don't know how to celebrate or they are not generous. I'm just sharing with you my personal experience and trying to give you some funny stories. Okay, another big and controversial subject is healthcare system. I know that even British people can't agree on their opinion on the local healthcare system. Some of them admire it, some of them curse it. I'm not going to judge any side, I'm just going to compare Ukrainian and British healthcare systems. Almost all, if not all Ukrainians who move to other countries are complaining about local healthcare systems, and I will explain why. The main complaint is because of the waiting time. In Ukraine, if you need to see a doctor, and even if it's something minor, you can do it the same day or the next day for sure. And this is free. I think everybody would agree that this is pretty cool, and the same is true even now during the war. But the downside of this is when you need surgery or any other operation. You still can get it the same day or the next day, but it is not free. You have to pay for this, and can be pretty expensive. And there is no such thing as health insurance, so if something happens, you need to have some money or borrow it from somebody. If you need any medication, you have to buy it. I mean any. I had a friend who had epilepsy from his childhood and he had to buy his medication all the time. However, the Ukrainian government used to give some financial help for such people before the war, but I have no idea how it is now. The same friend received his medication here in the UK for free, and this is great. The medical service in the UK is at high standard by no means. Even if you need the most complicated operation, you can get it for free. But the waiting time is just tremendous for me as Ukrainian. You can wait for weeks to be seen and then for years to actually receive the operation. Of course, you can go to a private doctor, but the prices there are insane, and there is a waiting time too. And we are not comparing private healthcare systems. It would be fair to admit that the waiting time here is not unique. The same is in Poland, in Germany, and probably in many other countries. I have to share with you one story that shocked me a lot about British healthcare. I know a person who moved to the UK recently from Cape Town, Africa, under a skilled worker visa. And a few months after that, he brought his wife with kids here. 2 months later, she got into a car crash. She drove in front of the bus and the bus smashed her car. She received multiple injuries, some broken bones, etc. Can you imagine yourself in such situation? You are in a foreign country, just recently arrived, and then this. Imagine if this would happen in the US. You will be owed the money for the rest of your life. But here, she had all the surgeries and everything completely free and immediately. I was shocked. In Ukraine, you would have to pay for everything. So as you see, there are some pros and cons in both systems. I think if the British government can improve the waiting time somehow, the British healthcare system will be the best. Moving to the next topic, the beauty industry. To completely understand the difference, you have to visit Ukraine for at least a couple of days, and then you will see everything without me saying something. Ukraine is not a rich country and never was. But we watch some British and American films and see there are some beautiful actresses and thought that everybody here looks like them. And we were trying to reach the same level of beauty. In this competition, we went far more than was expected. And remember what we were discussing in the beginning of this video, how people look at you in Ukraine. They always evaluate your appearance, and that's why the quality of all beauty services should be high. And if your service is not good enough, people will definitely tell you this with no means, and will never come back to you again. Remember, they are telling what they think. Here in the UK, people are too polite, and if the quality of a service is not good, they won't tell you this. They may even continue to come to you because they are too polite to change a master. And nobody is judging your appearance here. I saw people walking in their pajamas to the store. You will never see this in Ukraine. All the beauty services are so expensive here, so I don't know who can afford them. They are expensive in Ukraine too, but they are much more affordable. I can tell you about haircuts because this is my personal experience. In Ukraine, if you go for a haircut and at the end of it, they don't wash your head, that's something I don't even know how to describe it. First of all, where did you find such a place? It should be something really bad. Washing a head after a haircut, this is not an additional service and you don't have to pay for it. They just can't let you go covered in your hair. So many times I went for a haircut in Ukraine and after that I went for a birthday party or wedding celebration. But here, I just go straight home to wash my head. And when I tell this to my friends, they can't believe it. I can easily live with this. That's absolutely not a problem for me. I just accept this country and everything here, but I know that for many Ukrainian females, that's a shock and they cannot live without beauty services they used to. I think we also need to discuss public transport here, but I have to make a statement that I haven't been to Scotland, Wales and Manchester yet, so I don't know what is the situation with public transport there. But what I have seen already is that public transport works properly only in London, and outside of it, it's not really efficient. If you live in London, you don't need a car, and probably it's better not to have it there because it could be too expensive. Public transport is really good in London. You can use buses or trains to get everywhere you need. And if you have an Oyster car, it wouldn't be too expensive. The same situation is in Ukraine, not only in the capital, but in every town or city. If you need to go somewhere, you just go to the closest bus stop. Usually it's about 3-5 minutes walk, and then you wait for a bus or a trolley bus, and they appear every 5-10 minutes. A bus ticket costs about 20 pence depending on the city. If you need to travel to another town or city, the buses go there every half an hour or every hour, and a ticket will cost more because of the distance. But here in the UK, outside London, it's really hard to use public transport the same way as in Ukraine, because the buses are usually go once in a half an hour or once an hour, and this is not really efficient. A bus ticket costs £2 and the trains are crazy expensive. But what I have to admit is that the cars in the UK are cheap. They are cheaper than in Europe and way much cheaper than in Ukraine. A car in the UK is a vehicle. A car in Ukraine is more like a luxury. I mean, not every family can afford to have at least one car, while here there are often 2 or 3 cars in one family. Maybe because of this reason, public transport is so popular and efficient in Ukraine, because people don't have any other options. And it is so inefficient here because people mostly use cars. I don't know really, that's just how it is. By the way, I got one story regarding the cost of trains in the UK. A friend of mine lived in Cornwall and it's about 205 miles one way. When he came to visit me, it took him 7 hours on the train and he spent almost £100 one way and the same back. When I went by car there, it took me around 4.5 hours and I spent £31 on fuel. Can you imagine this? Yeah, there are no direct train from my place to his, and he had to make 3 changes. But the difference in price is just unbelievable. Now imagine if the whole family of 3 or 4 people has to do the same trip. It will be the same £30 on fuel or £400 on a train. And it's just one way. I know, you can say that you can buy a train card, but in this case you have to travel more often to be able to justify the purchase. I'm not aware of any train cards in Ukraine, but it is much cheaper to use train than cars. The last point I want to discuss today is the housing market, but before we do that we have to dive a little bit into history. After the Second World War, the Soviet Union government had to restore the country and they had to quickly build some places for people to live. The easiest way was to build multiple blocks of flats where a few dozens or even more families could live. Some flats were really tiny, some bigger, and those buildings still exist. But that influenced the whole housing market in Soviet Union countries. There is no such thing as one-bedroom or two-bedroom apartment. Every room counts because there are literally one-room apartment. What you call here one bedroom is 2 rooms apartment in Ukraine. I remember when my friend from Canada used to come to Ukraine to visit, he asked me to find him an apartment to rent for a week or 2. It should be 1 bedroom, and the real estate agents always asked me how many people were going to be there. And when I told them that only 1 person, they didn't believe me because they couldn't understand why in this case 1 person needs 2 rooms flat. And I had to explain them that in the normal world people call this kind of flat 1 bedroom because there is 1 room where you sleep and another room where you have your guests. In general, in towns and cities in Ukraine, people live in blocks of flats and only some of them in houses. While in the UK, most people live in houses. According to the statistics that I found, 94% of Ukrainians live in flats and only 6% in houses. While across the UK, 78% of households lived in houses or bungalows and only 22% in flats. So you can see the difference. Now the prices. If you have already seen my previous video how much I spent monthly in the UK, you already know the prices range here. In my hometown in Ukraine lived 260,000 people before the war. It is a bit bigger city than Portsmouth or Southampton. And I'm going to tell you the prices based on that city because I know everything about that pretty well. Of course, in bigger cities or in the capital of Ukraine, the prices are higher, but you will get the picture. So here in the UK, I live in the southeast and the prices in my area for 1 bedroom flat is around £1,000 a month plus bills. In my hometown before the war, prices for 2 rooms flat, meaning 1 bedroom, were £100 a month or higher depending on the conditions. Now, because the east of Ukraine is almost destroyed and the demand for places to live is high in the rest of the country, the prices are doubled. The same apartment now costs £200 a month plus bills. Yeah, I know what you think. Wow, this is so cheap. Well, yeah, if you live in the Ukraine but have a British salary, even the minimum one. Because the minimum salary in the UK is around £1,600 a month after tax from April this year. But the minimum salary in Ukraine from April this year should be £130 after tax. It's shocking, yeah? You may think that everything else is really cheap there, but at least now during the war, the food prices are the same as in the UK. And all the electronics is even more expensive because if the shops buy it abroad, they want to earn some profit of it. So theoretically, you can buy a new TV here, say for £250, and you can do it from one salary. In Ukraine, you have to save money for a few months to be able to buy the same TV. What about the prices to buy a place? Again, in my area, I can see that prices for 1 bedroom flats start from £70,000. In my hometown, a 1 bedroom flat will cost you around £45,000. Compared to the salaries, it's much more affordable here in the UK. But there is one huge difference. When you buy a flat in Ukraine, it is yours until you or your kids sell it to somebody else. Here in the UK, you cannot buy a flat forever. You take it in a leasehold. This means that you are buying a flat for 99 or 125 years, and after that period, the flat is coming back to the owner company. So it is not yours anymore, and nobody gives your family the money back. So if you want to own something, you have to buy a house, and the prices for houses are completely different. Okay guys, this was my comparison of the UK and Ukraine. There are so many other things and differences, but they have to go to another video, otherwise we would have 2-hour long video and it would be hard to watch it. If you have any questions or ideas about what else you want to know about Ukraine, please leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I go to create another video for you. Take care!